Hello everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you very much for joining me here today. We're taking a look at Ethereum Classic. Now this is a fan favorite, so thank you to my community for your patience here in this one. I try to get this out as frequent as possible, and I do think that we have pretty good things going for us here. So you'll be excited to see this one. This is just a technical analysis, no fundamentals here. Bear in mind, I'm not a financial advisor. This is for educational purposes only. You should always do your own research. I also have links to my Telegram, Patreon, and Discord channels down below. Please reference that and show your support if you'd like. Without further ado, let's go ahead and check it out. All right, folks, let's go ahead and take a look at Ethereum Classic. Let's see what's going on here today. And we'll first look at Bitcoin to get kind of a baseline on the market, as well as Ethereum, just to understand holistically what's going on and see if there's any correlation between the two, because obviously most altcoins are reliant on Bitcoin doing at least level, right? At least something that's sideways, that isn't this downward spiral that we're so freaking tired of. Anyways, try not to get passionate. I gotta calm down. I'm sorry. We'll figure it out. Let's get to it, see what's going on. Okay, here's the lovely Bitcoin. And first of all, to preface, I am using TradingView within the Binance desktop application, and you just click on TradingView in the corner to enable that. It's always set to original. This is a much better option to be able to enable all of your indicators and to have more control. So this is a 4-hour chart on Bitcoin, and just a note before we get started, I always like the 4-hour chart because of the fact that it gives us the moving averages. They have the most impact, essentially. A lot of the industry leaders use these, the 50 and the 200-day specifically. So as we can tell, the price is well below both, but we should expect to see the 50-day moving average be tested soon, and we'll see if that will work as a support level moving forward. It's been a pretty good support and resistance line over the past few months. Okay, but just bear in mind the 200-day moving average is essentially the big one. It couldn't quite pass it and lost it. So hopefully we can get past that milestone eventually. But right now we've got a support level at about 33,500 and the next major resistance at 42,300. Ethereum, looking at this bad boy, Ethereum is usually pretty reliable to be a nice solid alternative to Bitcoin, failing, but it isn't seem to be doing that right now. Unfortunately, Ethereum is performing almost identical to Bitcoin in the last 2 weeks, or roughly, actually be more like a week and a half. But at this point, not much else to be really said here. It's essentially mirroring Bitcoin, a slight variance, but not much. It's doing a little bit better, but still not quite what we're used to. And that's likely because ADA, XRP, and a handful of other altcoins are essentially taking that market capitalization, which makes sense because they are very good products. They have really good fundamentals. Do your own research. I think you'd be impressed, at least with ADA. That's my favorite. Suffice to say, let's look at what's going on here. We got a 200-day moving average working as a resistance. It's going to intersect with the current resistance level of 3,100. And we've got the 50-day moving average coming down. Be on the lookout for a golden cross. That could happen, which is usually a good sign. Looking at Ethereum Classic, let's go ahead and take a look here. We're always, if you're new to the channel, I always look at the one-day chart first to get quick perspective on what's going on, because in order to make an informed decision on just say a shorter time frame, you need to know big picture and understand more specifically what's happened in the recent past, because any type of coin in the cryptocurrency has a tendency of jumping up, as we see right here, really fast, really hard. And if you don't note that and you jump in arbitrarily without understanding what level, what part of its recession or increase, you're going to be in for a very unfortunate surprise. Okay, let me go ahead and explain. So looking at this here, first of all, just to note, the 50-day moving average is working as a support level, which is fantastic. We've got some room to grow, of course, because this was a previous channel between roughly, it was what, $82 and 110. Yeah, that was the channel it worked itself into. It's doing pretty well for a while, and then of course this the China incident happened, and unfortunately it drove the price much lower into this category, this tier here. But I don't think it's going to be down here much longer. I project the price to come back up if we can get 2 or 3 days of sideways momentum, or just sideways anything from Bitcoin that's not going down for a change, then we'd be in pretty good shape to see this recover. All right, looking at the RSI, as you can see, look at that overextended, Jiminy Christmas, that was like 95. On a scale of 0 to 100 that never hits 100, 95 is really high. So that was extremely overextended. That's caused the price to decrease. We got the elong candle here and the channel candle here. So that does essentially cause the price to come down even further than it should have. I feel like this channel right here is where the price should be at. So I do think the average true range should be anywhere between 82 and 110 still. We should expect to see Ethereum Classic bounce back up because it does appear that there's a pretty strong support at roughly about $60. I don't think the price is going to go much lower than that. 4-hour chart, taking a look here. Here's that channel I was referring to. We got the 50-day moving average working as a resistance, and same with the 200. Bear in mind it was just working as a support level moments ago. That was what? Well, 16 hours ago. And that is right there. So long story short here, we should be okay on the price coming back up, I would say eventually soon, but it still needs to come across a few resistance levels to be able to really hold tight. So I think we can, if Ethereum Classic does what it normally does, it has a tendency of shooting up or shooting down. I would venture to guess that the price will eventually soon shoot up to this point and kind of hold and consolidate. It's done that before, and I wouldn't be surprised it does it again. Look at the RSI though. Look how low this is. Really, really freaking low. So extremely oversold. I would say good value, especially at $60 right now. I can't see it coming down much lower. I really can't. Again, unless Bitcoin dips under 30,000, we are probably going to be in good shape to see this recover somewhat. It may stay on this channel here once it gets back up there for a while, but I'll take that over what we have right now. The MACD, not a lot of action there. Don't even worry about that. It's kind of drawing dead, which it happens when we have this type of consolidation for a while. Moving on to the 15-minute chart. So we're going to disable the the moving averages rather, the simple moving averages, and we're going to use the VWAP and the EMA. And if you're new to the channel, I like to explain this just so you know, and I apologize if you've heard this before, but the VWAP is essentially just a 24-hour volume expressed as a price. So if we see this here, the price should be 61, roughly just say $62. That's roughly where it's hovering. Okay, so it makes, basically what this means is this is a current resistance level. So that is essentially a resistance line. The great thing about the VWAP is it's a consistent support and resistance line that's fairly reliable. So it always tells you where the price should be at, and if it's overextended, it'll come back down. It really tells you a lot. Most people overlook the volume, and the VWAP is a really easy way to translate that information. So pay attention to that too. Looking at the moving average though, the EMA, essentially that's an exponential moving average. I use the 15. Industry standards are going to be roughly right around 9 and 20. I split the difference so I have one indicator instead of two. It works better for me. And if we can see that there, the price is also under the EMA line. So this is not an ideal point to take position. We want to wait for the price to jump above, hold above for no less than 2 solid green bars, 2 solid basically candlesticks above both the EMA line and the volume weighted average price. Okay. Now let's see, look at the 1 minute chart. Why don't we go ahead and identify this here? Because the EMA line is more consistent on the 1 minute chart. So if you're going to use the EMA 15, 29, they all work a lot better on this chart. So on the 1 minute chart, the shorter time frame, the EMA is more effective. So as you can kind of see, it works as a support and resistance, but also a momentum indicator. It's very similar to the actual moving average convergence divergence, the MACD, but again, more reliable because it's specific to the price action instead of creating its own chart. So if you look at this here, and we see this prices, right, they're bouncing around a lot. But as you can tell, when the price comes up, it stays above for a little while. When it loses, it stays below. Look at that, bounced off and held below, bearish. Came back up bullish, but also lost again. We're seeing lower lows at this point and lower highs. So again, instead of trying to chase the bottom, trying to buy the dip every time, which is not recommended, you can use the EMA line to identify it, right? In other words, when you see this come down and bounce, that tells you it's significantly still in a bearish sentiment. When you see the inverse, and just say this were to come above and then to eventually bounce off of the EMA line on the top and keep going up, then it's bullish. Those are cases in point where you want to take entry because it's confirmation it's moving in the right direction. Let me give you an example here. Yeah, right here, for example. The price jumps up above EMA. Let me get a little closer. Jumps up over EMA, You see how it comes down and tries to bounce off the EMA and come up? That is essentially what that's doing. So this is working again as a support in this scenario. So the best time to try to consider buying is when you see the price jump above and you see at least 2 or 3 green candlesticks closing above the EMA line. Okay, so just say hypothetically you look at this, you see this one close, and this one closed as well. You take entry right here because there's 2 green candle bars. Price comes up, you wait for it to bounce off the EMA, came down, tried, didn't quite touch it, kept going, bounced off the EMA here. You then add to your position because you should have only taken a 30% position in this very first entry. Okay, again, never go all in. It's dumb. Don't do it. I've done it plenty of times. That's why I can say that. It's not ideal. I take a smaller position initially. Once I got confirmation off the EMA line, I add to my position. I perhaps take a 20%. Yeah, that's a lot bigger. A 20% position right here. And then once the RSI jumps up over 70, which it looks like it tried but didn't quite, it tipped off right here, then I would essentially take my position at this point. Okay. Now again, the RSI doesn't always have to hit 70, but just don't be that guy or that gal that essentially holds on too long and lets it come back down. As soon as this comes down and passes this line here, you should immediately get out and take your position. Or sorry, take your profits. Withdraw from your position, right? And again, this may not seem like a lot, 20% plus 30%, but that multiplied out by a 10% gain, that is likely a 1% growth in your portfolio, depending on how much you're trading with. Okay, so to me, I can walk away from the day knowing that I made an impact and a positive impact on my wallet because of the fact that I took profits while I could, right? I respected the laws here to be able to get in at the right time. Now again, keep in mind, we're under the VWAP line here. It's not always recommended to get in under VWAP. Okay, so that's a little risky. There's nothing wrong with that, but you would want to, ideally in a perfect world, wait for the VWAP to be below the price action to ensure you have that double standard or that double confirmation, if you will, right? Because only using the EMA line is one confirmation, using EMA above VWAP is a second confirmation. That's what you kind of want to prefer to use. But again, this climate right here, when the prices keeps kind of getting driven down, so to speak, it can be difficult to do that. And the reason why this came up like it did is because the RSI was way under 30, it got down to what, 15, and as soon as it came back up, would be an ideal position right there. Really quick note on the RSI: if you're ever planning to take entry, don't take entry as soon as the price either goes above or below 70 or 30. Wait for it to come back and touch it a second time. In other words, if you take a look at this right here, this would be a terrible entry point, right? Because it just peaks out under 30. But if you go a little bit closer and you see, as soon as it comes back up, the price is right here. That is essentially, what kind of percent is that? It's almost a 4% improvement between these two lines. Okay, so I like to try to reiterate that. I have an RSI video that explains this, so feel free to reference that too. I think I'll go ahead and put that in the cards. But just pay close attention. These are little things that add up. All this little stuff really helps. And one last thing to note here, as you can see the price is coming back up. It may have found its bottom. So what you'd do is you'd wait, again, for this price to bounce off of EMA and then consider taking a position somewhere in this range here if it comes up and bounces off. All right. So just something to think about. Hopefully you found benefit from this. If you do, comment below. Feel free to join me on Telegram and Discord. Those are in the description below, as well as showing your support on my Patreon account, because I am planning to get some signal groups together soon, so that way you can essentially be able to get in the know. I can help you find good entry points. I'll send some signals out to ensure we have some future projections and price predictions that are a little bit more detailed, if you will. Okay. So just things I'm working on to help you all out. Thank you again for joining me here today. Hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll see you in the next video. Take care.